He killed 40 million people. That is 10% of every single human being alive on Earth at that time. He wiped entire cities off the map, erased entire civilizations. And today his face is on money. His statue stands in front of government buildings, and his own country calls him a national hero. This is the story of Genghis Khan, and it is way darker than anything your history book ever told you. All right, so let me paint you a picture. You're living in a city in Persia around 1220 AD. Beautiful city, libraries, markets, thousands of people going about their lives. And then one morning, you hear it. Horses, thousands and thousands of horses, coming from the horizon. And you know exactly what that sound means. Because every city that heard that sound before yours, every single one, no longer exists. The Mongols are coming. And Genghis Khan has already decided your city is going to be next. What happened to those cities, what happened to those people, is one of the most brutal and least talked about stories in all of human history. We know about Hitler. We know about Stalin. We learn about them in school. But Genghis Khan killed more people than both of them combined. Adjusted for today's population, that 40 million becomes 278 million dead. And somehow, history decided to call this man a genius. So today we are telling the real story. From the beginning. Who he actually was. What he actually did. And why the world decided to remember him as a hero instead of a monster. Who was Genghis Khan? The real beginning. Okay, so before we get into the killing, and there's a lot of killing, you need to understand where this man came from. Because his origin story is genuinely one of the most dramatic in history. He was born around 1162 on the steppes of Central Asia, the vast open grasslands between what is now China and Russia. His real name was Temujin, not Genghis Khan. That name came later, and his childhood was brutal. When Temujin was around 9 years old, his father was poisoned by a rival tribe. Just gone. And the tribe his father had led, they immediately abandoned the family, left a widow and her children alone on the steppe with nothing. No food, no protection, no tribe. In the brutal world of 12th century Central Asia, that was basically a death sentence. Temujin spent years surviving on roots and rats. Literally, rats. He was captured by enemies and wore a wooden collar around his neck like an animal. He escaped. He got kidnapped again. His wife was stolen by a rival clan right after they got married. He got her back by going to war. And every single thing that happened to him, every betrayal, every humiliation, every loss, he remembered. And eventually he started making people pay for every single one of them. By the time he was in his 40s, he had united every single Mongol tribe under his command, something nobody had ever done before. And the world was about to find out what happens when a man who spent his whole life being humiliated finally gets unlimited power. So here is where it gets genuinely dark. Because Genghis Khan did not just conquer, he erased. His method was simple and terrifying. When his army approached a city, he would send a messenger first. Surrender completely. Give us everything. Join us. Do that, and your people live. Refuse, and everyone dies. Every single person. Men, women, children, animals, everything. And he meant it. Completely. The city of Merv in modern-day Turkmenistan was one of the largest and most beautiful cities in the world at the time. A major center of Islamic culture and learning. Libraries full of manuscripts. Scholars. Poets. Hundreds of thousands of people. The Mongols arrived. The city surrendered. And Genghis Khan had every single person marched out into the fields and killed anyway. Historical accounts say 700,000 people died in Merv in a single week. Then there was Nishapur. After a Mongol general was killed there, Genghis Khan ordered complete destruction. His daughter, who was the widow of that general, reportedly asked that not one living thing be left. And the Mongols obeyed. Cats, dogs, every living thing in that city killed. The skulls of men, women, and children were stacked into separate pyramids as a warning to everyone else. This was not war. This was systematic extermination. City after city after city. And the scale of it is hard to actually wrap your brain around. The population of Iran dropped by 90% during the Mongol conquests. 90%. Entire civilizations that had existed for thousands of years gone. Libraries burned. Irrigation systems destroyed. Land that had been farmed for millennia turned back in a desert. The Islamic Golden Age, one of the greatest periods of human intellectual achievement, was effectively ended by Genghis Khan's grandson in 1258 when Baghdad was sacked and the House of Wisdom destroyed. Centuries of knowledge, gone in days. Okay, so here is where it gets genuinely strange. Because Genghis Khan was not just a killing machine. He was complicated in ways that make him even harder to understand. He was completely illiterate his entire life. Never learned to read or write. But he built the largest land empire in history. Bigger than Rome, bigger than the British Empire, through sheer military genius and political intelligence. He created the first international postal system, built roads across Asia, established free trade across an entire continent. Under Mongol rule, the Silk Road was safer than it had ever been. Merchants could travel from China to Europe without being robbed. He had a law called the Yasa, a written legal code that guaranteed religious freedom for everyone in his empire. He promoted people based on ability, not birth. A peasant could become a general if he was good enough. In many ways, the Mongol Empire was more advanced and more tolerant than the kingdoms it destroyed. And here is the wildest fact of all. Genghis Khan killed so many people, cleared so much farmland, that forests grew back across massive areas of Asia. Those new forests absorbed so much carbon dioxide that scientists believe his conquest caused the first ever human-made global cooling event. The man accidentally helped the environment by killing 40 million people. History is genuinely strange sometimes. So here's the thing about Genghis Khan. We do not even know how he died. The most powerful man on earth in 1227, and the exact cause of his death is still a mystery. The most common story is that he fell off his horse during a hunting trip and died from his injuries. But other accounts say malaria. Some say an arrow wound. One extremely questionable account says he was murdered by a Chinese princess he was trying to force himself on. Whatever happened, he took the secret to his grave, literally, because he was buried in a completely unmarked location. His funeral procession killed everyone they encountered on the journey, so nobody could follow. Slaves who built the tomb were executed. Soldiers who attended the burial were executed. And then, according to legend, they diverted a river over his grave so it could never be found. To this day, nobody knows where Genghis Khan is buried. The greatest conqueror in human history is lying somewhere in the Mongolian steppe, and we have absolutely no idea where. His tomb has never been found, and Mongolia actually has laws protecting the area where it is thought to be, making it illegal to even search there out of respect for their national hero. So look, here is what we actually know about Genghis Khan. Born into poverty and humiliation around 1162, united the Mongol tribes through pure will and violence, built the largest land empire in history, killed somewhere between 40 and 60 million people, roughly 10% of the entire human population, destroyed civilizations that took thousands of years to build, and accidentally caused global cooling, died in 1227 under mysterious circumstances, and is buried in an unknown location that has never been found. Is he a genius? Yes. Is he a monster? Also yes. History does not always give us clean answers. Sometimes the most powerful people who ever lived are both at the same time. And that right there is exactly why this story needed to be told. Because your textbook gave you one sentence about Genghis Khan, and one sentence is not even close to enough. Next video, another story history tried to simplify. A woman so powerful that the ancient world could not handle her. You do not want to miss it. Subscribe and I will see you there.